thank you for tuning into CAN TV. My name is Stephanie Rios and I'm a staff member here. Today we have Byron Sigcha from Pilsen Alliance. Byron, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, Byron, let's get started. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your involvement is in the organization?
I'm currently the director of the Pilsen Alliance. I've been the director for the past year, and before that I was a board member for about 4 years.
Oh, okay. So as a director, what do you do? What's a day-to-day for the director?
Well, we are in charge as a small non-for-profit. We're in charge of coordinating volunteers. We're a fully volunteer organization. We only have one fully staffed position and a bookkeeper. So we coordinate the operations, we coordinate activities, informational workshops, and in general just make sure that we communicate directly with communities, answer phone calls, making phone calls, and that's what it takes to do a grassroots work in the community of Pilsen.
Oh, wow. So you are a jack of all trades, right? A little bit of everything.
We got a lot of good help from the community, so I try to just coordinate.
Nice. So how did you get started with Pilsen Alliance?
I got started during the school closings in 2012. I was at the time a volunteer soccer coach and writing coach at Pilsen Academy, one of the local schools. And when we got the announcement that our schools were going to be closing, we got an announcement that Young Elementary and Pilsen Academy were on the closing list. So it touched home, basically. I mean, those are the kids that I work with. We had to go to hearings, we had to make phone calls to inform parents, and that's when I got started as a volunteer. Pilsen Alliance was the leading organization, and I think the only organization that took the fight on directly into the mayor and the CPS, and I was very impressed. The turnout, almost 1,000 people showed up to one of those hearings, and because of that grassroots effort, those schools are still open. They're doing actually very well. Wow. And really inspired me to be part of the organization.
Oh, wow. So can you give us a little brief overview of what the Pilsen, I know you talked a little bit about it, but can you expand a little bit more on what the Pilsen Alliance does for the community?
So Pilsen Alliance is a grassroots nonprofit organization. We have been around for 18 years dealing with the issues of housing, tenant rights. We also help homeowners with tax appeals, tax exemptions. Our mission has been to keep our community in Pilsen, to avoid more families being displaced from the neighborhood, to help the low-income residents, the Latino residents. We also help with immigrant rights, workers' rights, when there's discrimination or issues in the workplace. Within schools, we also help with public schools. We sit in some LSC councils. We also help with environmental justice issues and in general issues of the community. When residents come with an issue to our office, we try to do our best to either connect with a resource or sometimes ourselves getting involved to help them out.
And you work with a network of organizations, right, to ensure, like you said, that you can refer anyone if they call in and say that they have some kind of a problem or an issue or something that they need help with, right? Absolutely.
There's great organizations out there, and sometimes we don't know. There's a lot of great immigration organizations, a lot of advocates in housing, tenant rights, a lot of organizations that do great environmental justice, workers' rights, and we just try to connect with community to make sure that they have those resources, and also they have advocates. So we are a big advocacy group for social justice and empowerment of our community.
And for those of you who are saying, oh, well, you know what, hey, it looks like Pilsen Alliance and they can potentially help me with something, I'm going to give you really quick the information for the Pilsen Alliance. Here is their website. You can reach them at thepilsenalliance.org. Their address is 1744 West 18th Street, Chicago, Illinois 60608. And you can reach them via phone at 312-243-5440. And the email for Byron is bsigcha@gmail.com. So is that where you recommend people, if they have a question or anything, to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank
Great.
you, Stephanie.
Yeah, absolutely. So something that's really exciting that you told me about is Pilsen Alliance recently was at Standing Rock, right?
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
It was a very humbling experience. I think for those of us who were able to attend, we were able to connect directly with a lot of issues that I think also similar to what we deal here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. As foreign as we may think it is, or as far away that we may believe there are, the issue of displacement, the issue of water pollution. I mean, we have schools who have lead in our schools in Pilsen. The issue of displacement. I mean, we deal on an issue like that every day. So those are the issues, and what we can do about it. That right of self-determination, of empowerment, of communities to have the right to be the decision makers in their own land, in their communities. And that's what we thought it was important for us to go there, because we see the abuse, the imposition, the violence that and the victimization of communities, of the Native American community that is fighting for the right to have access in their own lands, with their own water, and we thought it was important for us to show solidarity and also learn from them. I think it was very humbling to see many of them to leave their jobs, to leave everything behind, to make sure that they help their community, and that kind of commitment also inspires us to continue to do our work. Oftentimes it's not easy. It's hard. We are fully volunteer. We're just average people just trying to help our community, and it was really inspiring to see that over there.
I never even thought about it that way. I mean, what they're fighting for over there really does parallel with a lot of the things that we see happening in Chicago. So that's an interesting point there. How did you guys get invited over there? How did that come about?
So we have some friends that do work with the Indigenous Youth Council over there, and that's how first we got connected. That they were asking for supplies, donations. We have a friend who also was the one who coordinated a rally in Pilsen and asked us to support those efforts, and we were gladly, she's a resident from Pilsen, and she said this is important. We said, we agree. We went, we provided some volunteers, we helped her put together, with an event, a fundraiser event in the Mexican Art Museum, and we connected directly with some of those leaders from the indigenous community in these spaces. So we really were moved by their testimonies, by their stories, and we say, we got to go there.
Wow. And, you talked about some of the events that have already happened. Do you have any other events coming up for Standing Rock that people can get involved in?
So at this point, I know that there's we have a committee that is formed. There's many events across. We see there's one today in Little Village. I think El Viejo is putting one together. I know that there's another event that we will put in together, but the date is to be announced. So I will say to keep posted. Visit our Facebook. That's where generally we get the updates. But there's a lot going on. There's people going. There's a veteran group that is going on December 3rd, and we have some of our members, part of this group. So we will, coordinate those efforts. We still need donations. We still need, resources, that are vital for them. And one thing that what we have heard is that these efforts of economic boycott for those banks and big corporations that are hurting these communities, and there's being a call to make sure that people who bank there, who have the resources there, to call their banks and see if they can make sure that there's a conversation here. It's really criminal what's happening out there.
You mentioned to make sure that people keep posted with you, on your social media pages. Can you tell us really quickly what the handles are for your social media pages?
Yes, it's really simple. We try to keep it set, and I'm glad there is only one Pilsen Alliance, so it's at Pilsen Alliance, and I think that's pretty much from our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. They all have the same.
Great.
So
that's pretty simple across the board. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So, the name of the organization is Pilsen Alliance, right? Mm-hmm. But we talked about, you're going to go, you went to Standing Rock. So in Chicago, does the outreach for Pilsen Alliance, does it expand past Pilsen?
Absolutely. There's issues that we deal across the cities, not only Pilsen that deals with displacement, evictions. We are not the only community with this dealing with school closings or the lack of mental health services. So there are many issues that I think interest all of us and should be a concern for all of us. And so we, yesterday we were at the mayor's house in an action for affordable housing that was with the Chicago Housing Initiative that is dealing with holding CHA accountable, make sure that the homeless community have a shelter while there's money there, and we don't have those vital resources, and our communities are hurt. Is our responsibility to work in coalition and collaboration. We cannot work as one organization or an asylum or as a marginalized community, we got to work as a community, as a city, to solve these critical issues.
Ah. You mentioned a couple times the term grassroots leadership. Can you talk about, for those who aren't familiar with that term, what does that mean? And this is something that I've seen often in Pilsen. Why do you think that this type of activism, this type of leadership, thrives so well in a community like Pilsen?
I think because the people realize the importance and the effectiveness of that leadership, a leadership that is not from special agendas, it doesn't come from corporations, people with money or influence or politicians. It comes from the bottom, the grassroots, teachers, parents, immigrants, people from the community, the average resident who just wants to help her neighbor and want to see a better community. We want to see our schools thriving. We want to see our neighborhood affordable. That we want to see our clean air, more spaces. And it doesn't take politicians or special corporations. In fact, we see that quite the contrary. And it takes this kind of effort to make it happen. And I think that when we have our board is made of people from the community, from teachers to stay-at-home moms, parents, immigrants, LGBTQ, and I think that we want to make sure that those are the people who make the decisions that really drive forward the community. There's a lot of interests out there, and I think it's up to us, the residents, the people who get affected by them, to provide solutions and alternatives.
So for those, grassroots leadership, from what you're telling me, means it could be a group of friends that's out there that's talking about an issue that's affecting them, and they say, you know what, no more talking about it, we're going to do something about it, and they join together to do something, and then that's where the grassroots comes from. The people who are affected are the ones who are doing something about it, right?
Absolutely. It is just people, coming together to solve whatever that issue is, that the concern, as little as it is or as big as it is just people coming together and trying to find these solutions. That's what the Alliance tries to provide. This space where dialogue happens, when conversations happens, and then sometimes action. Oftentimes action happens, and that's what we try to provide.
Yeah, I think the key thing that you said there is, it doesn't matter how small or big it is, right? Maybe people might think like, well, we don't have enough people to help us. It starts small, and especially now with social media, it's it's a lot easier to get your message out to the community and say, hey, let's join together and let's do something about it. So for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching CAN TV. My name is Stephanie Rios. I'm a staff member here, and we're talking today with Byron Sigcha from Pilsen Alliance. Byron, so there's a topic that's quite polarizing right now in Pilsen and in many communities across Chicago, which is the issue of gentrification. Can you talk about why it's so polarizing, why there is opposition to gentrification in a lot of communities?
I think that, on the other, looking from the different angles, and you're right, is a polarizing issue. Many people believe, when a neighborhood gets gentrified, it gets better, quote unquote. More businesses, safety, and all the things, the resources that come with gentrification. But we don't see the other side of it. I think that oftentimes people don't see the other side of it. Oftentimes, gentrifying communities have a beauty that is the culture, that is the sense of community, the people coming together, the struggles that have taken us and bound us to have the community that we have, like in Pilsen. People had to do hunger strikes to have schools, to have libraries, to have bus stations, train stations. So I think that kind of community has created a beautiful environment where people now see and say, oh, the murals, oh my God, the culture, the restaurants. But we don't realize that, it doesn't take it didn't take resources, it didn't take money, it took people. And it is a challenge to protect, to preserve those beautiful things, that sense of identity and culture and diversity. When we have a horrible legacy of segregation in the city of Chicago and across the country, when we have a bad legacy of racism and all the things that we see around us, and especially nowadays. So I think that if we don't sit down and talk about these issues, how we can do to preserve the identity, to help our community, the residents who have built this community, to help to be able to enjoy the beautiful things that are coming. new projects, new amenities, new restaurants. But when their own residents get priced out of these things, when our families get evicted, often illegally, despite the law, despite the safeguards that we can provide, the things that we can do, I think that we ought to look at our hearts and see and the things that we can do to keep this diversity. We love. I mean, many people now. Pilsen is the place to be, apparently. We recently, yesterday or a few days ago that we had a meeting, we realized, Pilsen now is out of the 77 neighborhoods, is now number 17th in the most expensive neighborhoods in the city, which is a drastic change, in the last 5 to 10 years. 10,000 Latino residents have left the neighborhood because of a lack of housing opportunities. And I think that is to say that we were also part of creating this beautiful community. So we want to create an environment that is diverse, that is truly diverse, and do not replicate the mistakes of the past when neighborhoods change, but they change to be segregated. So that's what we think we got to talk about how we make this happen. We don't have a precedent of actually making it happen. Gentrification is a powerful force that displaces, and there's a way back. But we also see other models in other communities, and it takes these grassroots efforts to have this balance, development, and this inclusion in decision making and the community that we all want to be part of.
No, absolutely. Everything, people who are watching, I'm sure, are listening to you and feel inspired by it. And for those who want to get involved and want to do something about it, Pilsen Alliance seems like it's very involving, and it's about involving the community. So can people just show up to events? Do they have to be invited? And if so, how can they be invited to your meetings?
So we usually, our meetings are always open. They're always free because we want more people to get involved. Mm-hmm. We want people to be informed. The best way, probably subscribe to our mail list, subscribe to our Facebook page, subscribe to our Twitter account. We try to do to disseminate information as best as we can. Obviously, sometimes it's not easy. We got to do door to door. Sometimes it's hard to find people home. So it's not easy. But I think the best way, and nowadays, thanks to this program and the media that we have, the social media available, I think like if people who are watching, that would be the best way to learn about our events. And come and to the office sometimes. Just stop by. We have an open door policy. People can come in and get more information.
Are there certain hours that you're at the office?
We usually are from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. But obviously it varies as we are in and out of the office for events and activities and actions. But anytime people can just stop by. You're always welcome. There's got to be someone in the office.
Great. So you mentioned your address. You also mentioned your mailing list. So I'm going to go to our overhead again to make sure. So the mailing list, can people go to the website to get on that mailing list?
Absolutely. If you go to your website, you can subscribe. And, you can also send us an email, and we can also add you if that, that's another way to do it.
So there you go. If you are looking to get on the mailing list, if you want to make sure that you get all of the notifications for Pilsen Alliance, make sure that you go to thepilsenalliance.org or send an email to Byron Sigcha, bsigcha@gmail.com. And like he said, if you want to stop by the office, you want to see how you can get involved, ask a question, bring up an issue, 1744 West 18th Street in Chicago, 60608. Now, do you have any events coming up for those who are interested that people can join?
Absolutely. So we like to invite you to two great events that we have. One is this Saturday at 12 p.m. at the Rudy Lozano Library. We're going to have a Know Your Rights immigration workshop. That is very important nowadays. A lot of fear in our community, a lot of concerns, and a lot of things that we need to know, be better informed before we panic, before we are fearful. And we try to provide that information to ensure our communities that there's things that we can do, that we are there for them. The other one is an event on December 17th that we have a teaching. This event is for teachers and parents. Also what we can do in our schools. What can we provide to our children to make sure that they're not fearful, that they're not concerned. How teachers can teach in their classroom in these times of fear, in these times of in these really difficult times that we're facing as an immigrant community or Muslim community and Black community we are facing many issues in our communities, and I think it's important that we find ways to address them. And I think that may be another opportunity. That's December 17th at 4:30 p.m. And the address will be posted on our Facebook.
Great. Is there for these types of events or when you have meetings, is there an age limit for who can show up?
Mm-hmm. There's no age limit. I mean, we have a lot of these very diverse crowds that we usually get. We got very young people. We got a lot of youth. We got a lot of elders. We got a lot of people from all sorts. That demographically, age-wise, is a very diverse group, of diverse community. We do have, however, different ways to participate. We have a youth group, so we got people.
Oh,
we got
nice.
some from 14 years old to 21 years old. We got a youth group, so they do activities that are more they're more appropriate for their age, or more interesting for their age. We also have committees. There are people who like to do housing. There are people who are more into education, more on the environment. So we have different committees. So if you want to learn more about the different ways to collaborate, to participate, there's, I don't know if it's by age, we do have different committees, but there's a special one for the youth, and there's other committees for your interests.
Nice. So they just need to reach out to you, and then you'll find a place for anyone who wants to help, right?
Absolutely.
So talk to me about how does Pilsen Alliance remain the voice of the community? How do you ensure that what you're fighting for, that your activism, that the services that you offer are really mirroring what the community needs?
By staying connected with the community, by staying accessible, by staying transparent. What we see, that's what we see nowadays, unfortunately, in our communities, politicians that are disconnected, organizations that are disconnected with the reality of our community, the harsh reality of our communities. So by remembering this open door policy, by remaining to be accessible, constantly in movement, constantly in action, through social media, through door to door, through phone banking, whatever it takes to continue to learn what we need to do, connecting the dots and really addressing the needs that our community needs, and not what we need to raise as an organization or to do as an organization. This is not our agenda. This is a community agenda, and as long as we maintain that a community agenda, we know that we will be there and we will have support of our community.
Absolutely. And something that I wanted you to mention too is I noticed on your Facebook page you had a survey. And what was that survey for?
The survey had to do with we have an 18th and Peoria. We have two lots, big lots, the biggest lots, and probably some of the last empty lots that we have in Pilsen, that have had a really, really important history. 11 years ago, that day, the Pilsen Alliance was fighting a luxury development in those lots, because we have been an organization that was born out of helping our community to stay in the neighborhood, addressing displacement, and that's how the organization came about. Those lots are very important because they have gone through so many proposals, so many projects. None of them really addressed the concerns, the needs of the community, didn't provide feedback, didn't have take into account what the community needs. And so our idea was to bring people together to talk about what we like to see here, what is what we need, what is it that we like to see as a community. These lots can have a very important impact in our community depending on what it goes there. We were very close to have 500 luxury condos there that were almost a done deal. And thanks to the grassroots efforts of the community, the Pilsen Alliance as supportive of these efforts, the lots were, the zoning was stopped, the developer is right now on hold, and we are hoping and pushing to have more affordable housing. We have a shortage of affordable housing in our community, and that was kind of reflective, and that was the survey. We wanted to hear from the community what they had to see, and that's exactly what we saw. That one of the questions asked, what we like to see, and the most common response we know with affordable housing, and within affordable housing is single home affordable housing. We don't have housing for families anymore. We got more and more for young professionals, for more affluent professionals, for families, and we are not really helping our families stay in the neighborhood. So that's what we saw, and we like to continue to advocate for.
Oh, absolutely. For those of you who are just tuning in to CAN TV, my name is Stephanie Rios, and I'm a staff member here, and today we're talking with Byron Sigcha of the Pilsen Alliance. We don't have much time left, so quickly I just wanted to ask you, what are some of the goals for 2017 for Pilsen Alliance?
The goals have remain to help our community, to preserve the identity of the community, to preserve our families, to help our families, to help our community remain diversity. That's our main goal. Is being gonna be our ongoing goal. It's not an easy task, but also work on education, work with our schools, quality public education, and provide the spaces and opportunities for our families to thrive, to our children to have a better opportunity, a better future. And in these times of fear and concerns, to make sure that they know that we are here, that we are together, we're united, and we will not back down on our goal to have a beautiful and diverse Pilsen.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, I also want to give our viewers an opportunity to take a look one more time at the contact information for the Pilsen Alliance. So if you've been watching and you're interested and you would like to talk to Byron or someone at the Pilsen Alliance, you can go to their website at thepilsenalliance.org. Their address, 1744 West 18th Street in Chicago, Illinois, 60608. The phone number is 312-243-5440, or you can reach out to Byron himself at bsigcha@gmail.com. Well, Byron, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your passion. Thank you for helping us learn a little bit more about what Pilsen Alliance does. We wish you luck in all of your efforts and all the work that you do. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. And for those who are watching, thank you so much for watching. My name is Stephanie Rios, and have a great day.